B for bat, B for ball, B, 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 B. C for cat and C for cup, C, 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 C. D for dog, D for ducks, D, 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 D. E for egg and E for elephant, E, 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 E. F for frog, F for fish, F, 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 F. G for goat and G for grass, G, 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 G. H for hand, H for head, H, 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 H. I for ice and I for igloo, E, 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 E. J for juice, J for jar, J, 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 J. K for kit and K for kite, K, 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 K. L for lamp, L for leaf, Li, 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 Li. M for man and M for monkey, N for Nick, N for nose, N, 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 N. O for ocean, O for oar, O, 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 O. P for palm and P for parrot, P, 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 P. Q for queen, Q for quail, Q, 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 Q. R for rope and R for rat, R, 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 R. S for sun, S for sunflower, S, 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 S. T for tap and T for tub, da, 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 da. U for uncle, U for umbrella, B for violin, B for violet, B, 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 B. W for whale, W for water, wa, 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 wa. X for box and X for fox, Y for yacht, Y for yellow, ya, 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 ya. G for Jew and G for zebra, G, 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 G. G for Jew, G for zebra, G, 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 G.